Hey there, welcome to the podcast. Today we're going to try something a little bit different in regards to topic and flow of these types of videos. There are so many pieces of media out there in this world, and I think that a lot of them are really interesting to go over, to appreciate, to admire, and to effectively pull out some like meta-analysis, higher level understanding of how they actually communicate their idea, regardless of the actual content or even perhaps the specific intent. Let's look at cross-disciplinarily into various fields and spaces how people connect, convince, and converge on different ideas together. So I wanted to start with this really interesting TED Talk. And Karen here talks about specific things around mental health and how to talk to the worst parts of yourself. I find this topic pretty interesting, but more so because of how she effectively communicates the problem, the solution that she has, and just the general context around just her speech in general. And as we know, TED Talks are infamous for being, probably not infamous, but infamous for being very engaging and very specific. So let's explore some elements and devices that Karen uses to effectively communicate her ideas.
It isn't true what they say, that you can't love anyone until you love yourself. Have you heard that? Some people say you have to learn to love yourself before you can love anybody else.
So, what I love about just these few seconds, she's introducing a very common adage, a very common saying, and giving it already some sort of twist. You can even see in her body language that I paused at, right? This is showing some kind of indifference, some kind of questioning of what's going on. Does she really believe what she's saying? You can hear it in the intonation that Karen probably isn't believing this, and that causes a lot of intrigue automatically. I am more focused on what she has to say because she used something commonly understood and is going to flip it and invert it into something different. Let's see.
But it's not true. I loved everybody before I loved myself. 'Cause love doesn't care which way you come or what state you're in when you get here. Love welcomes everyone unconditionally. Oddly, so do focus group moderators.
So she makes a really big and broad point and then focuses in on what she might start talking about. And these, first 30 seconds are critical in aligning your audience to convince them of something. And she's appealed, to that ethos, that emotional aspect. But she's also weaving in some logic as well. And I think that this is building up a good case just from a basic level of what she might be talking about and her credibility as a person.
Which is how and why I learned to do it. If you've never been a part of a focus group, you're missing a really special cultural experience. So in every focus group, there's a range of characters, right? There's always a shy one and a chatty one, a grumpy one that doesn't want to do any of the exercises, and a very excited mom with a notebook who wants to get an A+ in all of the exercises. There's a student who lied on the intake because they need the money, and a dad full of jokes who can't read the room. And usually there's one ex-military guy who keeps staring at the two-way mirror suspiciously. It's a situation where a group of people that may not otherwise ever meet have the chance to share their perspectives.
So I love just the storytelling element of this, how she moves around and how she starts to create this world that we're able to be quickly immersed in. And we see that there's the focus moderator point So we're on the journey here. This isn't a wild connection out from above. She's stringing it quite well and quite effectively. She's using her personal stories, but in a generalized fashion, obviously, to purposefully articulate like um, an analogy here. And we're not going to go through this whole entire video, but I love these first like 2 minutes and a half because they really demonstrate a lot of great concepts to hook you in. We always do talk about hooks in social media, and I'm sure that in other formats such as lecturing or trying to consult or anything of that nature, pitching to businesses to get investors, it could be a variety of different things where you would use a hook. And what I love about this is like it's a great hook for the first few seconds of with the adage, the common saying, but immediately we're like pulled in constantly by these layers and layers, and we went generally from the broad point and topic to a very specific scenario. So let's see how she effectively ties in this scenario that's personal to her to her main broader point that she's going to illustrate within the next 12 minutes.
And it's my job as the moderator to make sure that they all get heard. Now, it's not quite a classroom, it's not group therapy, and while the community feel has some elements of holiness, probably no one would call it a spiritual experience. I mean, no one else. Because moderating rooms of strange and difficult voices is what taught me to welcome all the strange and difficult parts of myself. No kidding. I start every morning meditation with the same opener I used as a focus group moderator. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Your input is valued. I'm going to hear from each of you. I'll give you all the chance to speak. Just do your best to be completely present, honest, and try to make any requests reasonable.
So, obviously, like, this is a wonderful analogy that brings in a clear focus to what she's going to talk about. But I think that it's such an effective, humorous way, but also very, again, candid and somewhat vulnerable way of describing who she is. And she kind of opens up this world for us to better explore this concept of speaking to these different parts of yourself that you might not be super effective in or might be afraid of. And generally, when it comes to effective communication, this is a perfect example of how to pull someone in. She's not only using like a quick, zinger, but now creating a story and making that the analogy that she's personally connected to then give us more input on how she's personally using this framework, I guess I could say, this framework to help her think better, to help her change her worldview and her personhood. And I think that that's really interesting how effective this humor reframing and this metaphor that she does bring back at the end of her presentation, it makes all of these things just so much more effective. Something that I think is also really good to notice is her gesticulations, how she's moving her hands. She's walking a little bit around. She's using her facial expressions very effectively to basically telegraph what she's going to say next. And I think that this is perfect for really getting your audience engaged. And if we can take these kinds of notes effectively and use them in a variety of different situations, just think about any time that you would need to introduce yourself or that you would need to quickly pull someone in. This could even be done in a writing format. You know, there's a variety of different things that you can pull from this that might help you with hooking, creating storytelling, pulling someone in, retaining their attention, effectively communicating with body language. So I just wanted to share this clip because I thought it was really, really cool, and shows a variety of different techniques and really well done, in my opinion, to effectively communicate someone's ideas. Thank you for watching. Hope you stick around for the next video. We'll be covering something that's a little bit more long format. Have a good one.